Hello everyone and welcome to 404s of the World, a spin-off series of remarkable engines where I briefly cover the history of an engine numbered 404 in 4 minutes and 4 seconds. This episode of 404s of the World will be focusing on 3 engines in particular, since Union Pacific has technically rostered 3 locomotives numbered 404, an SD24, a C30-7, and a GP38. Since all of these engines are numbered 404, I decided to cover each of them in this episode instead of making 3 separate episodes for each locomotive rostered by the Class 1. With that note out of the way, let's begin. The first of 3 404s was part of the iconic SD24 class, which was ordered for the Union Pacific South Central District between Salt Lake City and Los Angeles. With the class numbered 400 to 447, this engine was built towards the beginning of the batch in July of 1959, along with its own B unit numbered 404B. As they worked in pairs of 6 or 8 in order to eliminate helper service on mainline trains. But due to the almost constant upgrades and stronger power for the railroad in the coming decades, the mighty engines were displaced by the DDA-40X and were downgraded to local and switching service across the system only 10 years after their initial construction. With the exception of a handful amount of engines, most of the remaining UP SD24s, including the first 404, were scrapped in 1986. The second 404 was built during the final decade of the first, in which a stronger and more common GE C30-7 was constructed for the railroad. Once again, initially built towards the beginning of the batch of 140 engines and originally numbered 2964, later being renumbered to 2404 and then 404, the C30s traversed the entirety of the Union Pacific mainline from Omaha to all points west, as the railroad was acquiring more Class 1s and increased their traffic. Such 6-axle power was perfect for longer trains, and they proceeded the purchase of more GE 6-axle locomotives for long-distance service. Eventually, even the C30-7s would be replaced by newer 6-axle power made by the same company, but 404 along with 28 other C30s were sold to MPI-DM in 1999 for service in Mexico, most likely for the Ferrocarril y Terminal Valle de Mexico, or FVTM, since they gained C30-7s around this time. The last 404 to be covered is the only one that wasn't a 6-axle road engine and didn't even originate from the Union Pacific. Originally built as Baltimore and Ohio 4805, the Jeep was one of many engines which was absorbed into CSX in the 1980s, but one of few which managed to maintain its original B&O paint, as it was renumbered to 2105. After a wreck in 1991, the engine was rebuilt by NRE and was sold to the Chicago Northwestern as their 4705, and would be acquired again by the Union Pacific in 1995, and was renumbered 2064, 1904, 370, and finally to 404, and is therefore UP 404 III. However, UP's ownership of this Jeep didn't last long, as it was soon sold to CEFX Leasing in 2003, at this point still numbered 404, as it was repainted and retained its number around 2018. Even though the engine was recently sold to the Chesapeake and Delaware and was finally renumbered 2005 and 2020, this engine managed to remain number 404 on 3 different railroads in the midst of 7 renumberings. Thank you all for watching this episode of 404s of the World. Although their histories may be different, these 3 404s make up 3 significant periods in the railroad's expansive history. There is also one 404 which is currently on the UP's roster, specifically an S61B Slug, but I tend not to cover slugs for videos like this since they're not self-propelled. Thank you again for watching. Credit for all the photos used go to their respective photographers, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have a good day.